I have 3 Game Gears. But do they all actually work? Yes, they do. So I better turn the volume down. I don't have 3 copies of Sonic the Hedgehog, though. I do have 2. So these 2 have a real copy of Sonic the Hedgehog. And this one has an EverDrive in it. This one has the TMSS, or whatever their boot up BIOS thing is called. The other 2 don't. So this is the oldest model out of the 2. And obviously these 2 have a stock screen. This one has an aftermarket screen. This one has the original screen protector, which is like plastic and it's kind of bubbly. These 2 both have tempered glass ones. So they're flat, but they're harder to scratch. And the volume on all 3 very loud. Game Gears get hilariously loud. Yep, all 3 work pretty much perfectly, although a few of them have had a few issues. These 2 have been recapped by me. I've also recapped one for a coworker, and then there's 2 others that I had that I tried to recap, and even after recapping, they wouldn't work. So Game Gears can be pretty finicky, even after recapping them. This one I bought, it was recapped with the new screen in it when I bought it, and a few months into owning it, the sound would cut in and out once in a while, and I had to bypass the power running to the soundboard. Wait, was it this one? This one, this is the very first one I ever recapped, and it worked for like years without any issues until just recently it started shutting down while playing it. Ended up just being one of the capacitors came loose, so I had to resolder it on. But yeah, surprisingly, these 2 still work pretty good with the stock screens in there. Sometimes I think the screen on this one looks a little bit better. Maybe not necessarily in this video. That may just be where the contrast wheel is compared to that one. I think maybe on video this one looks better for some reason. But in person, I think this one looks better in person. This one is newer. Again, this one has the TMSS or whatever they call it. Like this one, when you turn it on, no matter what game's in there, you get this produced by or under license by Sega, and then the game loads. Whereas this one, when you turn it on, it goes right to the game loading. It doesn't show that produced by Sega thing. That's actually sort of like in the BIOS. I think it's like a copy protection sort of anti-piracy thing that's in the BIOS. So assuming this is the oldest model out of the 2. And then again, that one's got the aftermarket screen in it, which looks glorious in its own right, although doesn't scale perfectly. Apparently there's newer screen mods for these available now that are like a higher resolution screen with a perfect integer scale. That's pretty recent, so for the longest time all the aftermarket Game Gear screens were like not an even integer scale, and they have some scaling issues. But like the trade-off is obviously the contrast and the color and everything else looks way better than these old screens, but it's kind of cool to have the old screens around. And oops, I just pulled the power cord out of that one. I like having 2 working ones around. Again, this is the very first one that I ever modded, or ever did a recap on and fixed up. And I kept the stock screen protector on there. This one was my wife's. Again, just a recap, and it's got the tempered glass screen protector on it. This one also has the tempered screen glass protector on it. But this one, the Sega Game Gear, the Sega and the Game Gear is white, where on this one it's gray. And everything on this one's a little bit darker compared to this one. So this one looks more like a stock one. This one is different. So there's apparently different companies or something making different tempered glass screen protectors. They're not all the same. But yeah, 3 Game Gears, and they all work. I love the Game Gear, but they can be a little finicky sometimes. Oh yeah, and they're all running off of power adapters. Those are like Sega Genesis Model 2 power adapters, which apparently I had 3 of. Makes sense, you need at least 2 just to run like a Model 2 Genesis with a 32X. And then I'm pretty sure one of them came with a Game Gear when I bought a Game Gear. So yeah, I had 3 power adapters. Could I have done this off batteries? Yeah, honestly, probably. I have enough of these Eneloops to run a Tesla EV. Like, it's ridiculous how many of these Eneloops I have. So if I charged them all up, I probably could have actually run these all off of batteries, but not very practical.